Hello there.
Hello there.
Hey. How you doing?
Good.
Good.
And you?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
I wanted. Well, guess what this is, Todd.
Guess what
Today,
is?
what the episode is today.
Post podcast segment.
Post podcast festival segment.
Post
yes.
segment. How's that?
But it's also
Okay.
the 200th episode.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh.
So
Sweet.
I thought, hey, I was going to squeeze out the part 2 of the Ryan Sorensen. I'm going to push that off another week. We're going to talk about the podcast festival because I think that's an appropriate anniversary episode.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask you, what were your impressions of the second annual Manitoba Podcast Festival yesterday that we went to?
It was good. It was definitely the next step up. The first time we went, I think I actually reposted the festival that we went to the last year for the first time.
Yep.
And we were just kind of sitting in the audience. So this time we actually had a table kind of set up. They had multiple people. After the first podcast festival, they started to have the meetings at the Robin's Donuts that we'd gone to a few of those. And then I think they had switched venues to a different spot. So with all the people that kind of gained a bit of momentum, and you could really see it at the festival. There was multiple tables set up. Everyone had all their different types of gear. Some people brought like their whole studio. Some people brought like just us. We just brought the Zoom. There was a whole bunch of different things going on.
What was interesting? You're going to say about gear, I kind of want to talk about that just a little bit.
Okay.
They had that first panel on gear.
Yeah.
And I could see your eyes just widen at that point.
Well,
you're like salivating.
Well, because I had the Zoom, and you had brought your headphones. So when I put the headphones on, I noticed right away there was way too much background noise. So I wanted him to talk a little bit about compression and limiting so that, other people, when they're setting up their, like a lot of people have the Zooms, but I'm sure that, there's different brands and types out there, just on how to work the settings. But he seemed to think that it was better just to kind of go vanilla and then kind of do all your
post-production,
your editing, post-production. So yeah. So
that was. I thought that presentation was really, really good. I know we're both sucking here, but I can't remember the name of the two guys, but they really knew their stuff.
Yep.
They're from a studio. They do reporting. That's what they do. That's all they do.
Right.
And they really knew their stuff, but some of the simple hints they gave on how to enhance the sound of your podcast is really, really helpful. Just like even like when we recorded your studio sounds like fantastic. That you spent a lot of time making sure the acoustics of the room itself were great. You've got the sound baffles on the wall. Everything about that room just sounds like amazing. But you know what you're doing.
Well,
most podcasters, they're not audiophiles like you are. They're not really familiar with the what to do to make a room sound good. Can you? I'd like to get your 2 cents on like mic position and room sound.
Well, he covered the whole thing, especially when it came to microphones and stuff. Like the dynamic mics that we use in the studio, they don't pick up as much of the background stuff. Like I can hear like things I can hear like the furnace and stuff like that. When you've got a mic like this, you pretty much have to be pretty close to it. And he was saying, that's what they use like in bands and stuff, so you don't get all that bleed and everything coming through. Whereas when the condenser mic, you could hear a pin drop from a mile away, depending on how sensitive it is. So you kind of have to decide on how you want to approach it. When you're in a studio, condenser mic is fine because usually you have treated walls and whatnot. Like I've got some treatments on the walls here. I mean, I've read, people. I mean, I didn't totally cover the walls, but you can. But when you do that, it totally deadens everything and the frequencies. It deadens some of the frequencies that you might want. But for voice, I think you could probably just plaster the whole place in. But for playing music, I guess it's a little different. The frequencies are a little different, but.
Well, I guess, yeah, like if I'm singing into the mic and the whole thing was baffled like that, it might take away some of the, I don't know, the nuances of someone's voice.
Well,
no. Is that right?
Well, that's when you do your mixing and your equalization and you're adding compression and you can add stuff to your voice to. I mean, it's like when you gate a sound, like say a snare or something. Like when you hit it, you'll hear the reverberation of it. The snare, you can hear all the little things sizzling in the background and stuff. Where you put a gate on it, you can kind of cut that out, and then you would add, say, either compression or a little bit of reverb after the fact. But you can control it. So usually when you're in a studio and you're playing drums, they don't usually bring the huge Gretsch set, or whatever, like big, deep sounding units. They usually bring the smaller kits where they're a little more. You can tinker with the audio afterwards. To kind of make it the way.
I think that's something a lot of people don't realize about recording drums.
Yeah, you can add, but you can't take away. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The positioning of microphones too. Like, I know maybe it's kind of basic for us. I think we kind of understand it. I guess maybe. I know you understand. But I kind of have an understanding of it as well. But I think it was a great thing to talk about because most people don't even think about the position of the mic. Like you talk about having it upside down or where to be. Like, should it be parallel with your nose or with your chin, and what that does. At least all that stuff. It was kind of 101 if you're an audiophile or a bit of a tech nerd. But I mean, this was critical information, I think, for a lot of people. I think you can see a lot of people's brains working because they're, getting this information. Like, well, I never thought of that. I get this crappy sound on my podcast. I don't know, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know. That panel for me, like, that's what we needed last year.
Yeah, it was.
I'm really glad they put that together.
Yeah, it was super informative. Like, you'll see people recording in the studio and they'll have the mics. Say the condenser mic's facing down, but they're elevated. They're not below their chin, and it's like, I've seen that, but I don't know why. So he kind of went into the nuts and bolts of it and why and how everything kind of sounds different depending on where the mic is especially when you're using condenser mic.
I know the guys kept saying, I know we're getting really technical here, but I don't think they were too technical. For me, like, I understood everything they were saying, everything they were explaining. They used I was going to say metaphors, but they would explain what things were. Like, they would use the technical term, but then they'd explain what a pop filter is. They could have just said, "Well, use a pop filter." They explained what a pop filter was. They explained the positioning of the mic. They explained. They explained everything really well. I don't think it was. I felt like they were really using the technical terms for people like yourself, but also the explanations were fun.
Yeah,
I don't understand any of this stuff really, but I understood everything they said.
Yeah, well, I mean, he explained sibilance and how that all affects the sound too, where all your S's and stuff. And I mean, I've even though I've got dynamic mics, I still have pop filters on them. Because I mean, you'll notice whenever you listen to the podcast, you're not going to hear any major popping or anything because they all have them.
Yeah. No, it was good. What did you think about the second presentation about video, the video side of podcasting?
Very good. That's something that we haven't really done much of. The only really video I've really done was when I was showing how to set up, say, my mixer when you're doing phone calls and whatnot, and how to plug everything in. That was the only video I've ever really done. Although I do have that, it's like a big circle with a light, and then you can put your phone in the middle, and then you can record. And actually, it looks fairly decent. Now I don't know what that would look like. Say if we sat down in the studio, and then I put a laptop at either the end of the table, or we move the table out far enough to be able to put another table and just try different things. Like we can try the laptop with its built-in webcam and see how that turns out.
That Todd, for me, that was the thing that shocked me, because the two big girls? That was the podcast, the YouTube podcast they do.
Right.
It was the guy from that show.
Right.
But he was explaining, like, they use 2 webcams. It's like, really? Like, that's enough. Like, it's astounding, because you think, oh, there's no way we could ever get to that point, of doing it at the level we want to do it. And then you hear that, and you're like, no, we can do it. It was, to me, that was incredibly encouraging, because I always wanted to add the video element, and it's like, well, crap, like, your laptop has a webcam on it, so does mine.
Yep.
I mean, it might be helpful to have a third person, to help on the production side, just to make sure, because I'm guessing I'm going to be watching their show to see how they flip between the cameras and that sort of thing.
Right.
But I'm assuming they have one webcam. I don't know. I'm curious how they do it. Like, it's something we can be able to do.
It'd be like if you're in the control room at a television studio, and you got guys switching from one camera to the next. So you might have a third person that's not doing the podcast, that's actually switching cameras from one to the other, depending on who's speaking. I don't know if you can automate that. You might have a button that you can press, go like, okay, it's my turn, I'm going to click the button, now the camera's on me. I mean,
or it's something like someone's talking,
mm-hmm.
and it's picking up the camera on that side, so then it flips to that person talking.
Well,
and then it's a wide angle otherwise. I'm curious how they... I'm good. We're going to have to watch it, Todd. We're going to have to check this out.
Yeah, I'm sure the technology is there if you want it to go that far to do it. But I definitely want to see that. There's also, I mean, I could do the phone also, which does the phone, but then if I'm doing the audio separate on something different, then I would have to sync up the audio with the video, and that would kind of get kind of messy. I'd prefer to try to keep it simple. If we did use a webcam, then we can obviously record it.
They're saying they're using 2 webcams, so like, we got 2 laptops, man. We got what we need.
Yeah.
So I'm actually really excited to try that.
Yeah.
But that means we're gonna have to do the podcast out of our jammies.
Yeah. Well, I usually take a picture of when we're doing the podcast, so you kind of see what we're wearing anyway. But this will have to be because you were saying never shoot your podcast in 4K. It's ugly. Unless you have like super duper makeup artists.
I wouldn't mind talking about, I've actually gone and the thing I did this morning is I spent 45 minutes looking at every single person we met
mm-hmm.
and their podcasts.
Right.
And find them on Instagram.
Okay.
Find them on Podbean, and to also find them on Google Podcasts, which even though we use Podbean for stuff, I do listen on Google Podcasts because I don't know. I can find everything on Google Podcasts.
Right.
The searchability on there is probably the best to find stuff. But I've actually spent some time listening to some people's podcasts that were there.
Right.
And I thought maybe we could talk about the ones we've listened to so far.
Yeah, I mean, if there's some that you really liked and you want me to listen to specific ones, I can do that and then we can discuss it.
Well, the one I'd like you to listen to, and I'm not asking to listen to multiple episodes or not, was the Echo podcast. That was he was at our table on the far left-hand side. He had a round table at the end.
Yeah.
Now, he was, his name is Sky Thorleifson, I believe is his name.
Okay.
And kind of, he's the guy that just kind of fades into the background. He doesn't, he's a nice guy. He just looks like another podcaster. But when you listen to his podcast, which I was listening to Friday and Saturday and Sunday, I gave it a listen. I never gave his podcast a chance before because it was just the only podcast that came out of last year that I listened to.
Right.
And for some reason, his fell by the wayside. And I feel really bad about that because when I listened to it this weekend, I was blown away. And this is why I want you to listen to this one. Like, it's a radio play kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had the 50s, War of the Worlds and all that sort of stuff. And it actually has actors in it. And it's kind of like a movie, but just an audible movie. And there's a director, there's sound effects, there's music. So as the scene is building up, you're going to hear the music in the background.
Right.
So the whole thing is actually scored. So there's like a film score.
It's like a radio, like what they used to do back in the day when they had radio.
Yeah, that's
radio shows.
exactly what it is. But it's of the highest quality. And he writes, directs. He does one of the voices. He didn't want to do the lead in it. I can understand that. I think if I were to do something similar, I would never do the lead because then it just seems incredibly egocentric. But you've got to listen. Just the production that goes behind this. Never mind the story. If you just listen to it for production value, I'd like you to take a peek at that. I really want to hear your 2 cents on it. It's something else. I mean, the story is very interesting so far, and I'm totally engaged. And I really want to know what's going to happen next. There's a building suspense to what's happening.
Right.
The writing is kind of next level as well. Like, the writing is really good. It's very intelligent writing. It's not.
What was the name of that one again? Let me just.
It's called Echo. So ECHO. And if you look for Echo and SKYE, Thorleifson, but if you look for Sky, I think it came up right away when I typed that in.
So if I go Echo Sky, it'll come up?
Yep.
Okay. I'll save
Echo
that one.
Echo Podcast. Take a listen. I'm not asking you to listen to the whole thing. I mean, it'd be great if you did, but I want you to hear the production value on it.
Okay.
So, like the use of sound effects, the use of soundtrack, the use of actors.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a narrator describing. It's not someone reading a book. This is actually not someone reading a book, so it's not like an audio book. It's a screenplay being read by actors.
It was a cold, rainy night.
Yeah, you're not getting that. You're actually getting the actor going, oh, it's so cold. Like you're actually, like they're acting the scene. And they're not reading the lines. No, they're acting the scene.
Right.
It's really, really good. That's my number one pick to listen to out of the new podcast I listen to.
All right.
You got to give it a shot.
I will take a listen for sure.
The other one that I listened to this weekend was The Real Debaters. They were on the end of our table as well.
Yep. The square table?
No, they're on the end of our table, like just on the right-hand side of us.
Yeah, at the end. Well, their table wasn't the long. Theirs was like a square table. They had all their mics set up and stuff.
Yeah. They had a full studio set up there.
Yeah.
And it's Real Debaters as an REEL, so real is in movies.
Mm-hmm.
So they're debating movies. These guys are freaking hilarious. A bunch of them are stand-up comedians. I believe they are. And it's just four really funny guys talking about movies. And it doesn't even matter if you've seen the movies either. They're just very entertaining to listen to. The reason I gave them a listen to right away, it was the first one I listened to out of the gate, was because these guys approached us. Like, I was, chatting back and forth with Twitter and Instagram with them.
Yeah.
And I actually did a drive-by. Like, I jumped in. They recorded an episode there, and I actually jumped in and did a drive-by. which was a lot of fun. And they were like totally cool with it. Like that's what they wanted, you know, like that kind of, you know, malarkey.
Yeah. You
So
know,
it was,
looking back on it, I should
Yeah.
have brought the mix. I should have brought most of the studio with the arms and everything. And that's what we
Yep.
should have done. Because, I mean, we had people coming to our setup, but I don't think we had the proper setup microphone-wise to be able to pick everything up properly.
yeah. Oh, well, we'll know next time. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, it was more community minded, like meeting all these people, which was great.
Right.
But I am home. Those are the two. Give those two just a quick listen. I think you'll probably end up enjoying the Real Debaters probably the most, but because it's, you know, it's probably more your cup of tea. Just grab a random episode and listen to it. They're very easy to find. So is the Echo Podcast, very easy to find. So I do want to point out those two podcasts did their homework to make sure they're easy to find.
Perfect.
You know, they set up, they make sure they're available on multiple sources.
So if I go on Podbean, I can find them both?
Yep.
Okay.
Very easily, yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So give those two a quick listen, and then maybe we could touch back, you know, later. We can maybe talk about it a bit more in detail. I'm going to spend the next couple of days listening to a couple more.
Okay.
And then maybe we can talk in a couple more days, and we can talk about a couple more of them that we found.
Sure.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to leave you here. We'll continue this in a couple of days. Is that okay?
Sure. Sounds good.
Awesome. Okay. Boy, oh boy. We'll continue from yesterday.
Yeah.
You're all set?
All set.
So let's start with what you were listening to.
Okay. I don't have my notes in front of me here. Okay, so Echo was the first one that I listened to.
Yeah.
Now, it's actually better than I expected it was going to be, actually.
I know, right?
Yeah. I mean, especially when you have headphones on and you can really close your eyes and you can actually picture yourself in the headspace that they're in. It was pretty cool.
I listened to it in my noise canceling headphones,
Oh.
and it was like, oh god, it was great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I sat back. I watched, I think it's the first episode is when they were dragging the guy down into the cave.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all the background noises in the cave and you could hear the grumble of the entity and stuff that was in there, which was pretty cool. I mean, for some, well, I'm assuming they're amateurs. They did an excellent job. Whoever was doing their sound did a phenomenal job.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's all that Sky guy. Like, I think he's the guy.
He's doing all the voices?
No. He's doing one of the voices.
Oh,
He's
okay.
doing one of the voices of one of the guys that are bringing the blind guy, the hole or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like one of those guys.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but he's not the lead or the entity or anything. But like, so from a tech guy's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
so like the music too was originally composed for this. So this isn't like he found a soundboard. Like, this is composed for the show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Now, he didn't compose the music, I don't think. I think they actually had someone compose for them, I believe.
yeah.
He gives the credits at the end of, like, I think in the end of the second episode, because I think I'm on episode 3 now, he credits, like, all the additional people, because there's a lot of people that came together to make it happen.
Well, yeah, for
But,
sure.
but definitely the Sky guy is the mastermind.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really good. Very good.
I actually, it's to the point where, like, I stopped listening to it because I committed to listening to a little bit of everything.
Right.
So I'm eager to go back. I want to finish the story, and it's only like, it's a limited number of episodes. Like, I think it's done now. There's like 8 episodes or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and it was like 20 minutes, right? About 20 minutes long or so?
Yeah, thereabouts. Yeah.
Which is a good, comfortable time frame.
Well, that's like, I don't know if that was his intent, but that's a drive to or from work. So I mean, timing wise, it's a perfect length.
Yeah. It's good. It's not too. Sometimes if it's too long, then it's like, oh, it's like YouTube videos. If they're really short, you can watch them. You can watch 5 or 6 of them. It's all good. But if one is just way too long, then it just kind of drags out.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely going to follow anything this guy is doing now. I'm actually really over the moon for this. I have I don't know if I told you this before, but I had always had plans to take the novel I wrote, called I'm a Writer or something. This really dark story about this guy who goes through hell to become a writer,
Right.
literal and figuratively.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, really dark. And I had always envisioned doing a radio play of it because there's a lot of dialogue.
Right.
And I thought it would be the perfect vehicle for it, but I wasn't sure how I would do something like that. But after listening to this, I got top tons of ideas.
Well, the first thing that came to mind after I listened to it was like, oh, do you remember Frantic Times?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we used to listen on the radio all the time. I mean, it wasn't a story per se like this. It was more of a comedy-based skits and stuff, but it was kind of the same idea.
Without the visual.
Yeah. And you didn't need the visual because it was pretty descriptive, just in the narration of it. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is quality stuff. I'm a forever fan for him now, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what to expect when you haven't. I mean, they can tell you what it's about, but until you actually sit down with it, and it's like, oh, really? Wow, and then it kind of surpasses your expectation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely one of them. So what was the other one you listened to?
The other one was The Real Debaters.
Yep.
And it's almost like they're kind of like the party version, not the party version, but multiple people. It's kind of like what we do, but there's more guys involved and everyone kind of participates. So you're hearing different voices at different points talking about different things. So it's kind of similar to what we do.
Actually, it's the most similar to what we do, I think.
Yeah. And that episode was, I think it was over an hour.
Yeah. Which one, what were they talking about, or what was the...
Who's your daddy?
Oh, okay, that's the one I listened to, yeah.
What was it? How does it go? Who's your daddy and what does he do?
Yeah.
Look out, it comes!
I love your Arnold.
Mm.
Remember we were playing Whose Line Is It Anyway at my house way back in the day? We threw a Whose Line Is It Anyway party.
Oh, crap.
And I remember there was a skit that we set up where there was 4 people in the skit, and everybody had to be a celebrity.
Okay.
And you're all in a car. And you picked, like, everybody had to pick a name from a hat or something, if I recall.
Okay.
And I remember you picked Arnold Schwarzenegger out of a hat and had to do a skit playing Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Driving in a car.
And you were doing that whole look out thing that you always do.
Get out of the way!
Oh, man. We got to do a Who's Line party again. Because that was freaking great. That was so much fun. We did it twice, I think. So those are the 2 you listened to?
Yeah, those
are anything else on the docket there?
Those were the only 2 that I listened to.
Okay. Well, I went into work early this morning, and I was doing house cleaning last night.
Right.
So I actually just put the earbuds in, let the kids play, and listen to a few different ones, actually.
Right.
So the one I really wanted to listen to was 2 Black Geeks.
Yes.
We met those guys
at
the festival. Basically, similar to what we do, but as these guys have been friends for a long time, you can tell.
Okay.
It was, and they literally they come into an episode. They do their episode twice a week, which that's crazy. But
they do their episode twice, you said?
Twice a week, yeah.
Okay. Oh, twice a week. Okay.
Yeah, twice a week, and they started up in March of this year. So they both come in with a list of anything that that they saw in headlines, and it's just basically geeky stuff, like they're putting out a new Terminator film, or here's what's happening with Star Wars, and they basically bring a list. They each bring a list in. They kind of go through the list and just talk about kind of news of the day from the geek side of things.
Right.
And they kind of offer their 2 cents on it. But I'm trying to remember the names. I think it's Mike and Corey. Mike and Corey. Wait a minute. Isn't that the 2 guys from Trailer Park Boys, Mike and Corey?
No.
It was Corey and
Corey
the other one.
Corey and Trevor.
Corey and Trevor.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Corey and Trevor. These are fucking hilarious. The one guy, Mike, he's like giggling through the whole thing, and it's hilarious. Like, these guys crack each other up the whole episode. Like, they're like so much positive energy. They're just having a blast hanging out together. They have arguments, but they're never mean arguments with each other. It's just kind of fun.
Right.
Back and forth. So I listened to the D23 episode, which is talking about the big Disney, like a Comic-Con thing, but the Disney one, the Disney version.
Okay.
And it was good. It was really fun. Like, they talk about wrestling. They talk a heck of a lot about video games,
Right.
which I think you'd be very interested in.
Huh.
There seems to be.
What's that?
But predominantly video games they talk about.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I you know what? I'm definitely going to listen to more. Like, this is going to stay on my playlist. It just like sounded like two great guys just having a blast.
Yeah.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's professional in that it's like a news program. It's not like that at all.
Right.
Which is what I like. Like, some of the YouTube stuff you watch, it's just so polished. And it's just so professional that it's boring.
Okay.
This is fun.
Yeah.
This is just fun. 2 guys hanging out, just talking geek talk about anything that comes to mind. It's very, very entertaining.
Cool.
These are 2 guys I'd love to have on the show. I'll
For
put
sure.
that out there right now.
For sure.
These guys are great. It's totally in line with what we do.
Yeah. I've got. I grabbed some cards while we were at the podcast festival.
Okay.
Now, these ones I'll probably look up only because I have the cards and I'll be able to find them easier. One of them is Giving Up the Ghost podcast. That was the one that was right beside us.
Yep. I listened to an episode this morning.
Okay. And what'd you think?
Yep. Not what I expected.
No?
But well, they were kind of sitting there and maybe they were shy with it. They were kind of quiet, and I thought it was just it was a show about, talking about ghosts, psychic phenomenon, that stuff. And I thought, I kind of got the because they were so quiet, I kind of got the impression that it was a very dry sort of thing, But after I listened to the show, I'm like, no. They're 2 ladies around our age.
Okay.
They're very good friends.
Mm-hmm.
They cuss and swear. They have a good old grand old time, and they're just telling kind of ghost stories and stuff. They get out, they look up stuff and kind of talk about their experiences with ghost stuff. I listened to the episode where they talked about ghost pets, and it was usually those sorts of things. Not that big a fan, because usually they can never seem to find the right host to talk about that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But these 2 ladies were delightful.
Yeah.
Like, they were fucking hilarious. Like, it was really good. I recommend it. It's just someone you could, like, you're at a house party or something,
Right.
and then you eventually strike up conversation with these 2, and then you end up 4 hours later leaving that conversation because it was so good.
Right.
That's their personality.
Now, you and I had kind of discussed, because we saw the title of their podcast, and we went, oh, geez, I wonder if they would be interested in, hearing our story about when we grew up back east. In the house. Yeah, because the house we grew up in was built in the 1800s. And we had seen, some stuff from there. So, yeah, I'm just wondering if now listening to their podcast, would that fit into their genre?
Oh, God, yeah, totally.
Okay. So we'll definitely have to, we'll have to.
And I don't, this may sound strange, but they feel like back home to me.
They feel like back home.
Yep.
Like a
so I don't know if you two gals are perhaps from the Maritimes or not, but it definitely feels that way. It's
like a
I don't
kitchen
know,
party.
It's very familiar.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah, like a kitchen party. Everyone's, hooting and hollering, having a good time, and then there's always interesting conversations on the edges of the music and stuff. It just felt like that.
Right. Well, you did say
they're having a couple of drinks while they're podcasting.
Oh, okay.
And just being silly, and it's like it wasn't dry. I expected dry, and it wasn't dry, and I'm like, thank God, because I'm like, if I'm gonna listen to this, it's gonna be dry, and it's probably gonna be like a 3-hour episode. I'm gonna listen to it because I said I would.
Right.
It's gonna be dry for 3 hours. I'm like, no, I like these ladies. These ladies are awesome.
Yeah, so I'll definitely have to take a listen to that podcast. Yep. And then I have the one Traveling Minds. That was that girl that was beside our table also.
Libby, her name was.
Right.
I listened to that today. She has got really short episodes, so I managed to kick 2 of them out today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Very good, very informative. Mm-hmm. This lady should be a reporter.
Oh.
Like, she's really good with, like, she's interviewing people generally.
Right.
And she's really solid. Like, she's rock solid.
Right.
Like, she knows, like, she does not interview somebody unless she knows everything about them.
Oh.
So when they're talking, like the one episode I listened to was a Nigerian guy. I can't remember the guy's name, mm-hmm. but she was interviewing him, and he's written stuff, and she's read his stuff. Like, she just didn't, she just didn't have him on. Oh, he does travel stuff, so I'm just going to talk to him. Like, no. She researched the guy. She read his work.
Sweet.
And it was like, holy crap. Like, and she was able to quote him too. It was like, oh, like that's like, she was really good. Now, I'm not a travel guy. Mm-hmm. Like, travel shows kind of not really my thing.
Right.
But I thought her personality was really good, and how prepared she was actually made it interesting. Like, I didn't turn it off.
Yeah.
Like, it was interesting enough for me to just kind of stay on and get to the end. But she's not stuffy either. She's like a good interviewer in that she has personality.
Yeah.
She's well researched, but she's not stuffy either. Like, she's really, really good.
Well, from when she was talking to us, she sounded very. That type of person who's she directly just concentrating on what you're saying and everything, and just kind of she was very good at. She kind of did that little interview with us on the side, and very I guess professional is what kind of comes to mind.
But still fun.
Yeah, it's still fun for sure. Yeah. Very approachable.
What else you get on your list there? Your cards.
Well, I got the round one here from Jeremy from the Past Bedtime Studios.
Yes.
There was 2 of them. There was Jeremy, and then there was the other one. I can't remember the name now.
Now, we met them the year before as well, and I think the year before they were still at the setup point of things.
Okay.
I downloaded episodes last night. I have not listened to them yet, but they're going up against Echo Podcast, so I don't know, man. Because it's the same sort of thing. It's a teleplay, like, sort of a radio drama sort of thing.
Right. And those are great for podcasts. They're perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really, like, after listening to Echo, like, I actually want to hear more of these types of things, and I'm really curious to hear it. So
yeah,
I'm going to list, I think those are the next ones on the list for me is this one.
Right.
What else you got there?
Okay. The last one that I have here was primarily critical.
Yes.
No, I haven't listened to their stuff yet.
I've been listening to them for over a year.
Yeah. So give us the premise of the outline of how what type of podcast they have.
They have a really good tagline to sell their show, and the tagline is, it's like a book report, but about a movie. That's their show.
Oh, okay. So if you want to know about a movie before you watch it, now I guess it probably gives away the whole movie because they probably.
No. You need to actually, like, they always say, if you haven't watched the movie yet, please stop the episode now and go back and watch the movie and then come back. Mm-hmm. But they do it kind of. It's just 3 buddies. I know one of them fairly well, Steve. Mm-hmm. long story short, like 1 degree of separation there between Steve and I.
Right.
We at one point we even, I guess I can tell a bit of the story, but he was just having his kids when I met him.
Right.
And he was transitioning to being a dad,
mm-hmm.
and he had a job. He had a job with weird hours and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He still does, and he was trying to. I think he was just trying to figure out, okay, how do I dad stuff, and then how do I go to work, and then how do I find time for my wife, and then how do I still hang out with all my buddies? Right. He was trying to figure that whole thing out, and he was trying to hang out with me. I was trying to hang out with him, whatever. We were trying to, because he's an avid gamer, like board gamer, video gamer, and he loved movies, and he was also a guitar player. So like we actually had one half-ass jam session
right.
together in my old garage.
Now, is this just him?
No, it's him and 2 of his buddies.
Okay.
So he's kind of I think he's the guy behind the scenes. He's the guy that puts everything together, is my understanding.
Right.
So then every week, one of the 3 of them picks a movie, and then they all have to watch it, and then meet up and talk about it.
Right.
But the format, there's a really good format to it, and the chemistry between the 3,
mm-hmm.
it's really entertaining. And if you've seen the movie that they're talking about, it's even better because. The three of them have chemistry. It's flat out. They're definitely not the same types of personalities each.
Yeah.
So you kind of get 3 different views on things.
It's almost like if people read, like they have the book clubs, right? They read the book, they all get together,
totally
they discuss it, but it's movies.
It's totally a book club situation. That's exactly what it is.
And the thing I like about, like back when, what was it? Breaking Bad came out. Okay.
Yep.
And when it was over, it was like, I need more. I'd look at YouTube. I would try and find as many either interviews with them or anything regarding them,
sure.
Or any new movies that are coming up, and it just kind of wanted to you wanted more. So yeah, yep. So in this way, same idea. I mean, they watch a movie or a series or whatever whatever they're doing, and you sit down and they talk about it, and it's like you're there. You're going, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, you get right into it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, they did the couple episodes of theirs I listened to, because I do listen fairly regularly. If I've seen the movie, I'll generally download the episode and listen to it.
Right.
The 2 that I listened to recently, they did a Tomb Raider one.
Oh.
But they covered both movies, like the original Angelina Jolie and then the new one.
Right.
So it was interesting. They kind of talked about which one's better, which one's and then they also did a review of The Dirt, the Motley Crue movie.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So if you're gonna listen to a couple episodes of there, like I know those 2 would be in your wheelhouse, because I know you watched Tomb Raider, obviously.
Oh yeah.
And I know you saw The Dirt.
Yeah. Joe Dirt.
So The Dirt, yep.
Oh, Joe Dirt or The Dirt?
The Dirt.
The Dirt.
The Dirt.
Board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dirt. The Dirt. Yes, it's The Dirt.
And I see that. And I see there was a couple more. I don't have these cards, but actually I took a picture of them while you were there. So
okay.
One of them was Reefer Madness.
Yep, I listened to that this morning.
And we were talking to the gentleman. I guess he's a pharmacist, and he talks everything about cannabis. I guess I don't know if it's kind of cooking or whatnot. He was saying that get everything that they talk about. Then there's the Beaver Does Movies. Okay.
I've been listening to Beaver for over a year.
Right. And then I have, let's see here.
And Beaver does like shit movies. That's kind of the premise. He finds like a horrible movie to discuss and talk about.
Right.
And so it's really good. Like it's all stuff that you find on the lower level Netflix type services.
Yeah.
Like Crackle and all those ones.
Yeah, the free ones or some of them.
Yeah.
And then
Beaver's a good dude. Like he's just I listen to his podcast.
Super good.
Because he's a good dude. His show is good as well. So I mean it's always in my playlist. It's a little harder to listen to his episodes because I haven't seen all of these movies he's put on there, but one.
Right.
I've
seen
enough crap
right
to be able to connect with some of the episodes. So I think I'm going to actually just like pick a bunch of movies he's watched go watch the movies and then download the episodes and go that route. I think that might be kind of fun.
Wasn't he? Was it him or I can't remember now? Like you start watching a movie. I think there's a bunch of people in the room, and I think they all watch it at the same time, and then to see which one is the most boring. And it's like,
Yes, yeah, that was him. Yeah, that was James. Yeah. The Reefer Madness one was really cool. It's incredibly informative.
Right.
About knowing, they talk about legalities,
Right.
what's okay to use, what shouldn't be used, I guess, like that sort of thing.
Right.
And not shouldn't be used, but it's like things like, well, don't use, I listened to their sex episode, because I'm a guy. Oh, sex episode, okay, listen to that one.
Sex
And it
and
was
cannabis.
they talked about like lubricants and stuff like that, but you can't use an oil based CBD kind of thing with a condom because just like it seems like they talk about the practical side of, well, you should use this if you're going to use CBD oil and you put it down there and then you have oral sex, then that person doing the oral is going to get high or whatever. Maybe I'm getting a bit wrong because I'm not a pharmacist. But
the CBD it doesn't have. Well, it's the opposite of the THC. So the CBD is more
it depends. It depends if it's taking this.
What's that? Oh, I think you faded away. Hello. You got some digital distortion happening.
Yeah. Like it's very interesting. It's like if you ever have I wonder if go see if they have an episode of it and listen to it. I mean, the guy knows his stuff. He's a pharmacist. He's no dummy.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's good. So yeah, I'd recommend that show.
Yeah, and the last one that I have here is the Invisible Man.
Oh, that's my frustration one. I can't listen to it. I can't find it.
You can't find it.
No, it's not available on Google.
Well,
I can't listen to it on Google.
It's the invisibleman.ca is what the card says. So I'm sure if we went there, we might be able to find.
Yeah, I might have to listen to it on my computer, but I can't listen to it on my. That's the one that was one of the ones I was really eager to listen to. But I can't listen to it on Podbean. I can't listen to it on Google Podcasts.
Right.
It's the two that I use.
Yeah, it's the invisibleman.ca. In case anybody wants to look it up. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So those.
I'll try to tag all these in the episode notes too.
Yeah. So all these ones we spoke about, the ones I haven't listened to, I'll be listening to, and then I can definitely give you a report.
Yeah, we can come back to them and talk about them. There was one there that's not on your list that I actually downloaded 2 episodes today. This Ain't Babysitting.
This ain't what?
This Ain't Babysitting.
Oh, right.
Yeah, the dad podcast. That's one I'm looking forward to. I've actually been saving that one. I don't know, for some reason I want to listen to that one last. I think it's going to be really informative, very funny, very educational, but still very funny.
Right.
We chatted with those guys for quite a while. I like what they're doing. I'm really on board for what they're doing and everything. For some reason, I had a bit of trouble finding it because I think I was typing babysitting with a G on the end.
Oh, okay.
They took the G off, and for some reason, searching is the one thing I will say about Podbean, as great as it is being a podcaster using Podbean, it really sucks for searching. For searching for stuff, the search engine on it isn't the best.
I looked for the Real Debaters, and I punched it in the search. I could not find it.
You know what's stupid? They're on Podbean. They're actually a Podbean podcast.
Well, that's where I listened to it, because what I did is I went to the podcast festival, and they had a link to it, and I hit it, and Podbean came up, and it says, well, it says it right there. Why couldn't it find it when I was doing a search?
Yeah.
Weird.
That's one thing. If Podbean really needs to pick up the pace on as a player, they fail, and the way you sort your playlist, and the way you get updates on when there's new episodes, that whole part of it is not very good.
Yeah.
They really need to fix that. But as a provider, they're fucking great.
Right. Well, I mean, just a shout out to them too. I mean, if you know this, that people have a hard time finding you, just be aware that if there's other ways, or I mean, you talk all the time with these RSS feeds. I don't know how
Oh yeah.
that kind of implements, if that would help or not.
Well, if you have the RSS feed and you put it in the search on Podbean, like in their search thing, if you put the RSS feed in there,
right,
it will take you there.
Okay, but you have to know what the RSS feed is, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I always say, podcasters out there, make sure your RSS feed address is in fact listed on your web page or whatever page you're using. Make sure it's listed there. When I was trying to find the Giving Up the Ghost podcast, I guess I typed it in wrong, and I was getting frustrated. I couldn't find it. So then I went to their page, and I clicked on the RSS feeds tab, and it took me to this web script page. It was just a page of code,
right?
But there was an RSS feed contained in there, and I went and grabbed it. But it was an iTunes ISS feed or RSS feed, and that doesn't get you anything.
Well, I mean, it says they're here on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Player.fm, Player something. I can't. My eyes are terrible.
It might be an FM player.
Google Play, Stitcher. Yeah.
But in terms of podcast players, and everyone's going to laugh at us for saying it, but I do use the Google Podcast app, not the Google Music app, the Google Podcast app. There's a lot of great things about it. It is better than Podbean in terms of a player,
right?
In all aspects, but cannot put a widget on your screen. You have to open the player up every single time.
Oh, okay.
You can't just put a widget on your screen. I really like the widget. But it's really good at letting you know when all your favorite shows have new episodes. They keep the tally of all the latest episodes of every single podcast you listen to. So you can just go in there and go, okay, I'll download this one, I'll download that one. So I've been using that one lately.
Cool. So you can download it right from there.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Because people generally use iTunes and Spotify, and as a possibly a distant third, Google Podcast. But generally, if you're on any kind of podcast service, it pushes your podcast automatically to those three. Automatically, they always send it out to iTunes. They always send it out to Spotify. They always send it out to Google Podcast. So, and if you're on those three systems, you're pretty much golden.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to see if there's anything else on my list. Oh, the other one too. The other one I discovered.
Okay.
Was Thick and Sweaty.
Yes.
Which is Stephen.
I've heard that name a few times.
Yep, that's Stephen Richard, one of the organizers. He's had multiple podcasts, but this one's with his gal, Shayna, I believe her name is. I listened to the first 4 episodes, actually just back to back to back. They also did one where it was with Sam. Sam was on there.
Okay,
and that was good too. Sam really needs to do more comedy on his show, because he was freaking hilarious when he wasn't putting the interviewer hat on or the reporter hat and just hanging out with his buddy and making jokes and laughing, and Sam's really, really funny.
I'm sure
you should let people see that side of him more.
Yeah, the more relaxed you are. Actually, I was just kind of cruising on Facebook, and I did notice that him and his girl had made a video. I didn't see that. I think they were about to make or bake something. I didn't get to watch the whole thing because I was at work.
Well, they do lots of food. They have lots of food gags on the show.
Yeah.
Where they eat food and then review it.
Okay.
So it might be like a flavor of drink, or the episode I listened to, they were actually microwaving pop.
Oh.
And seeing what it tastes like.
This tastes like shit.
Yeah, well, that was pretty much Stefan's answer.
I mean,
but it's really good. it's really like Shayna, like she's freaking hilarious.
Right.
I mean, he's a stand-up comedian. That's one of his many things he does.
Right.
She's not, but she could easily be. Like, she's really, really funny, and their chemistry together is really, really good. They do talk about deep things,
mm-hmm.
but there's always like a comedic side to it. I don't know, like, it's not a deep show where they're talking about all these, deep issues like through the whole show. Like, there's enough levity in there it's entertaining. They can cover certain topics, but they can also be entertaining. I don't know. It's really good. I highly recommend it.
Wow.
I mean, they're still a very young show,
right?
But I mean, Stefan's got tons of experience. So
right.
Yeah.
Cool. Hello.
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 How are you?
Good. You?
Good.
Good.
So this is the final part of our trilogy of episodes this week.
Number 3.
So, what did you listen to?
Well, I listened to the Giving Up the Ghost.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, it almost seems like the formats that I've listened to, other than the one regarding the storytelling.
Yep.
It all seems to be pretty much the same kind of a concept. A couple people around the table, and they're just talking about, the different themes and stuff, and the girls they give a shout out to the podcast and us and all the other ones that were there that they met.
Whoa, what?
Well, the last podcast that they did,
yeah,
was actually after the podcast festival.
Oh, was it? Oh, I didn't listen to it all.
Yeah. So. Okay. Yeah, so I listened to that one. So they gave a shout out to them and us and a whole bunch of pretty much all the podcasters that were there that day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Kind of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, it's kind of like a year in review type thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're funny, aren't they?
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. Apparently, they want to get together with the two. Is it the two? Is the two high girls, two pot girls? I can't remember.
Oh yeah, two bait girls.
Two bait girls. Yeah.
Yeah.
They wanted to go there, and they're going to bring the drinks, and they would provide the flour and have a good time.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I guess we should listen to that one. I don't know how we can. I can't watch. I can't play a YouTube video in my car when I'm driving because that's generally my podcast time.
Yeah. Well, actually, I had watched a little bit of theirs on YouTube. Because,
you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because it was nice. It was nice to have video, and it had the two girls there, and they were just kind of talking about, just whatever. It's kind of like. They light up and have some cannabis and talk about, whatever. Talk about either cannabis or whatever the topic is. I didn't get too deep in it. I was just kind of curious to see how their format was kind of laid out. But I'll have.
Well, yeah. So we can copy them and rip them off.
Yeah, that's it.
No.
A little bit.
We can learn from.
Yeah, a little bit of everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's when I meant to check out, and I didn't get there.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Okay, well, that's on the list. I listened to a couple things. I listened to Bedside Past Bedtime Studios. I can't remember the title of. They're another one, like the Echo Podcast.
Yeah, you were saying they're very similar.
Yeah, so I was very excited to listen to it. It was very different. It was one actor did the whole thing.
Oh, okay. So it's almost like a stand-up thing, and one person is doing all the voices.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple people involved in the production of it, but the writer is also the narrator, is also the actor.
Right.
So he's narrating, and then there's parts where he's talking, and then there's various Foley effects himself the whole time. It's a more, I guess, say it's more existential kind of the end after the end of the world sort of scenario where most everyone's died. There's been this big post-apocalyptic event that happened. I don't know what that is exactly, but I know they can't go out during the daytime because everyone catches on fire.
Oh.
So he roams at night from place to place, scrounging for food and water the whole time.
Wasn't there a movie with, was it Nicolas Cage? No, it was Vin Diesel. I can't remember one of them. He had those glasses on and.
Oh yeah. Riddick.
Yeah, couldn't go out because of the.
Movie was pitch black.
Yeah, because of the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had, in that movie, he had modified, his eyes were modified so he could see in the dark. What it was.
Right.
Yeah. That was a good movie, actually. So it was interesting, but it's a little, not my style. Like, I'll be honest, it's not my style. I mean, it was really well done. The production value was good. I mean, the story's good, but it's something I would have been interested in, 15 years ago.
Right. Now, have you
That's
seen
the kind of stuff I was listening to? It not now. Like,
right. Have you been following the Fallout video game series?
Do I own them all? Yes.
Oh no, but you obviously you've played them.
Oh yeah, of course I have. Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty much a post-apocalyptic, scenario.
Yeah, I usually like post-apocalyptic. I like doing it in a game, and I used to love I like those post-apocalyptic movies where someone's just by themselves and they're getting by, and I used to like that. But when it's a single character, I don't know, it doesn't really do it for me. But I'm not in that same place, in that same headspace I was 15 years ago.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. But I mean, the production quality is good. I mean, it's not a bad story, not by any stretch. It's just not my cup of tea at the moment, I guess.
Okay, well, I'll have to try that one.
Sound effect wise, these guys are total pros.
They're full what, sorry?
They're total pros.
Right.
Yeah, it's really well done. They have a composer and everything.
Well, I mean, Jeremy himself, it says here, writing, music, and mastering. So he must be the technical guy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I can't remember all those people credited on it, but that sounds right.
The soundscape of imagination.
Yeah. Actually, the intro to the show is really cool, actually. I can't. I'm really sorry. I was going to try to imitate the guy's accent, but I'm going to end up sounding Russian because every accent I do is Russian. Even when I do my Portuguese accent, it's Russian.
It all sounds Russian.
It all sounds Russian to me. But the beginning says, this episode will sound really good if you listen in your headphones. But he says it sexier than that. I'm not pulling it off, but it just makes it sound, it's like when you say desire. This episode will sound really good with a set of headphones on.
Come down to past
it's almost like a... Yeah, and he does that. Yeah, he does all that. It's kind of cool. But it's like a warning at the beginning. The views represented by blah, blah, but he's saying this sounds much better in headphones. So, and it says you should be in a quiet place and you should be wearing headphones for the podcast. It's kind of cool. Like, what a great way to introduce your thing. I don't know. It's good.
Well, you know what? There's some podcasts, because, I mean, when I was listening to the Giving Up the Ghost podcast, I was actually doing something, surfing the web while I was listening. So, you know what? There's some podcasts where you need to actually be very, very attentive.
Yeah.
And there's some that you can actually have it on in the background while you're doing stuff. Yeah. So mostly I find more interview stuff where they're talking. You don't really have to concentrate on the way that the conversation is going or the storyline, because when there's a storyline, it'll get to a point and you're like, well, wait a second, how did that happen? You have to kind of go back. And that's the thing. But I guess when you're listening to one for the first time, it's probably good to not have any distractions. That way you can kind of feel it out a bit to see what type of a format is, so you can kind of decide how you want to approach it.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
I did listen to, I can't remember what it's called now. It wasn't on our list, though, so maybe I'll cover that in the next episode. But I listened to The Invisible Man.
The Invisible Man?
Yeah, on YouTube. I popped it on last night.
So it's video?
Yeah. Video only.
Video of an invisible man. So was it like a blank screen?
No, this is the music guy.
Oh, okay.
Remember the music guy? And he's a British fella.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about the music industry and songwriting and stuff like that. He's always got guests on. He is a musician himself. He does perform. It looks like an association maybe between like 3 people or maybe 4 people.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is Colorado Phil. He's got that podcast out of Grand Junction, Colorado. He's formerly from Saint-Jean-Baptiste, Manitoba. He moved out there, and he's got his own kind of radio station out there.
Right.
Anyway, so he's on that show frequently. So I listened to the episode. He basically talks about like the economics. What's the episode I listened to? I listened to a couple, but he was talking about like getting paid in the industry and stuff like that, like
right.
how to make a living, songwriting royalties, like all those sorts of topics that we've talked about quite a bit too. So it's really interesting to hear, kind of the same similar topics that we're interested in. So I'm definitely going to listen to that one again for sure.
Wow. Now, is that one on the? So if you go to the Manitoba Podcast on Facebook,
Yep.
I saw that there was a lot of links and a lot of people who were talking about their podcast a little bit and just kind of plugging the podcast, the actual event. But
Yep.
now, I don't think everyone was on there, but I was able to find, and I don't know why.
Like that on that list, like with their, no, not everybody was.
Because there's some of the podcasts I wasn't able to find unless I actually went there and clicked on their page to get to their site, to get to their link.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a little easier to do that way. But it's too bad they weren't all on there. They should have like a list of all the attendees under the sides and all the shortcuts. Now I'm not too sure if we could talk to the administrator for that actual page and see if that's actually possible.
You know what? Maybe. I mean, I've got all the cards. I know everyone that was there, and I either they've reached out to me or reached out to them.
Right.
And the ones and some people reached out to me that I didn't talk to at all.
Right.
So I think because there was a lot of people in the crowd too.
Yeah.
That had podcasts. So I mean, some of those people have reached out to me as well.
Right.
So I think maybe what I'll do, I'm going to endeavor to, because when I do the show notes for this episode, like there's a lot of these are going to pop up.
Right.
And I'll go through the communications. I'm going to see if I can actually make a list of the names of the podcast. Because the thing that was difficult, exactly what you're saying, is I'm having a hard time finding some of these people.
Right.
There was the first lady that came to talk to us. She had a podcast. It was Tea for the Soul.
Right.
I think she said they only have a couple episodes up, but I couldn't find them anywhere. So I know they're with Manitoba what the hell is it called? Like Manitobaville, I think. She's with that group.
Oh,
and they have a bunch of podcasts on it. But hers only had a description. I didn't see anything actually on there, and she was really hard to find. So if you're listening to this show, Tea for the Soul, maybe can you contact us? Because I want to make sure I'm sharing this stuff properly. But I went to the Manitobaville website, and I don't. Maybe I got to go back, but I had a hard time finding it. But some of them were the same thing. The Invisible Man was you can only listen to it on YouTube, so that made it very hard to, it was very hard because I actually had to carve time out sit down in front of my computer and watch this.
Right.
So that was difficult. I know this is kind of the new version of the podcast format on video, but I think if you're doing video, you should also have a audio component to it as well that you can also release, regularly, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, you can always do the YouTube to MP3 thing and convert it yourself, but
Yeah.
I mean, that would be something that they could do and just have that as a separate link or something that you could.
Yeah. Because, I mean, they all have, like, Invisible Man had a website. He's got a lot of stuff embedded on his website. So, at worst case scenario, you should just be able to download it from the website. Like, you can just do it that way. You don't have to go through a podcast service or anything.
Right.
Just a suggestion, because I know when this show started, the one thing I had difficulty understanding and wrapping my head around because I had no one to talk to because I didn't realize we had a podcast friendly town like we do.
Mm-hmm.
I had a hard time, like, well, how do I, once I record it, like, where do I put it? Like, how do I do this?
Right.
Because my initial thought is that you get like a blog page and then you just post it to your blog page. But that's not exactly how it works.
Well, seeing that there was a lot of new people there, and I mean, there was a lot of questions on where, because they were asking us, like, where do you, put yours on, and you have yours on Podbean, and it seemed to be a very common answer. But a lot of other people have them on different places. It's kind of hard to have like a one-stop shop listing of, say, Manitoba podcasts with a synopsis of what it is about, all in one section. So you could actually just go straight there and go, oh, there's this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and it kind of give it just a brief description, and then you click on more, and then you'd have the whole description on what it is they do. Now, if you could have that. I mean, just like a one-stop shop, just for the Manitoba ones.
That's a great idea. Yeah, everyone could put their input instead of because I think a lot of the conversation back and forth that we're seeing, amongst all of us podcasters, it's always off of a string off of someone's Instagram page or Facebook page, and it's just this long conversation string instead of just a informational section on the web page.
Right.
That list here is, just a list of, okay, well, some people use Libsyn, some people use Podbean, some people use Spreaker.
Right.
Just you have a list of them.
Right. How long have podcasts been out?
Ours?
No, just in general.
The first podcast, officially or unofficially, was the Nerdist podcast. That was kind of the first one,
right.
Or at least the one that popularized podcasts. I'm not sure if it was the first, but it's definitely the first popular one.
So when was this? Like a year ago, 18 years ago, 6 months? Like how long has it been since that first podcast? How many years has it been?
Geez, that's a good question.
Because I think podcasting is pretty much still in its infancy.
Oh, yeah, it's still in its infancy. Well, Sam started 7.5 years ago, I believe, and he was inspired by the Nerdist podcast. He hates the Nerdist podcast, but he's like, well, I can do that, and he did it. So it was sometime after, longer than 7.5 years.
Right.
So, I don't know, maybe 10 years or something, but, it's still very young.
That's a few years.
Yeah.
That's a few years, but not everybody's been into it. But now that it's almost becoming, it's more mainstream now.
Yeah.
And there's way more information out there to be had on how to do it on your own. And you don't need anything, you don't need fancy equipment to do it either.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and we showed that, especially at all the tables. It was everything from just our little Zoom thing to everyone had their whole studio setup.
Yep.
Yeah. And even the portable ones. I mean, he had that one, what was it called, a Zoom something or other. It had inputs on the side for actual microphone inputs, like balanced inputs and whatnot, built into this thing. Like this thing was like the Cadillac.
Yeah. That thing's awesome.
But it was
I
like,
want one.
yeah, it's like over $700, I think. But if you want to go crazy.
But it does everything. It's got the phone input too, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, I mean the Zoom H1 that I had that was $100. I think now they've gone up like 139 or 129 or something or other. And you can buy the kits, and they've got the little foam piece that goes over. Say if you're outside in the wind and stuff, it'll break that wind, and it has a little bit of a.
I think nowadays though, like the first Zoom is probably not as good as someone's phone, especially if you have this gen phone or just this gen before. It's probably far superior to that first Zoom. I'm guessing by now, right?
You mean the version?
Yeah.
Well, we did recordings. I mean, just the music recordings we did with Ray. It was leaps and bounds different from back in the day with the your tape deck, and then you hit play and record, and you get the size of a microphone.
Play and record, yeah.
I mean, the microphone's the size of a pinhead, so I mean, you couldn't really get a whole lot of quality, I guess you could say. But but I think the only difference really between the old generation and the new generation, I mean, it looks a little different, like cosmetically wise, but I think the big difference was the older ones would only take up to, I think, a 4 gig SD card.
Yes, I think, that's right.
And it was I think it was the bigger cards too, whereas the newer ones take the smaller cards with the larger memory.
Yeah. It's like a micro SD, I think those things are called.
Yeah. I think that's the only real difference. But I think the actual microphones themselves, I think, are the same, and the components, I would think. But you'd have to look at the specs on both and see.
So we have a little bit of homework to do, I guess. We have to set up. We got a couple things going on, and I think there's slight conflict with time. But we have a band. We're not going to name them right now, just in case it doesn't pan out. But there's a band that we're trying to get on the show.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're all in agreement on doing it. It's just a matter of setting up the time. The reason I'm saying that is there's going to be a follow-up to the Manitoba Podcast Festival coffee, not this weekend.
That's at the end of the month.
But the weekend after that,
Right.
The Sunday works it to be the 21st or something like that. So any of you podcasters listening to this show, go there. Probably going to be at the Robins again.
Go there.
We got to figure out how we can make that happen, because I think that's going to chew into our podcast, like our studio podcast. Because I was thinking maybe that's the day we should do it, because it's after Thanksgiving and all that stuff.
Right.
But if we do it that day, well, that's the Manitoba Podcast Festival wrap-up, follow-up meeting. It's like, damn it. So, I don't know. We're going to figure something out.
Well, we could always do it the weekend after or something if
I guess we could.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we could just do that. I'm going to reach out to that band and work on a date. I'm going to figure out with Wifey Poo.
Mm-hmm.
And pick a date that works, but I guess I got to put the Manitoba Podcast Festival wrap up in the calendar as well.
Right.
Because I don't want to do both on the same day. It's just too hectic. It's just too hard.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no panic.
And that's my only day with the kids.
Right.
Or the kids and the wife. It's the only family day we have in the entire week. So
right.
Those are few and far between. Yeah. So I'm just about home, so if you can send me those clips, and I'm going to edit them, and then, like we said before, following this episode will be part 2 of the Ryan Sorensen thing, because this is our 200th episode,
200?
This is 200, So I'm going to patch these 3 together from this week, and that'll be our 200th episode.
Okay.
200th episode on Podbean.
So it's not 202?
Well, it's like 235 total.
Wow.
But 200 on Podbean.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. And I think you came on board in season 2, so.
Sweet.
Yeah. So we got to figure out what your first episode was, and then we should have an anniversary of you being on the show episode. And then we can make up another anniversary episode.
Uh-huh.
We'll just find different reasons for anniversaries. Because I like cake.
Oh, that's like partying on the weekend. We got to figure out a reason to party. Oh, it's such and such's birthday. Hey, we're gonna have a party.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, whose birthday this weekend? I don't know. We'll find somebody.
The anniversary of my first car.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know. We'll come with something. So I think, maybe we can do, if we can't do the weekend after the Manitoba podcast thing, we'll see, like, that weekend or the weekend after that.
Yeah.
The timing with the band was critical because they are releasing a single, and I kind of wanted to time it with those guys.
Yes.
If we could. So I'll reach out. I might just create a group, you, me, and that the leader of that band.
Okay.
And hash it out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, that was episode 200, gang.
Episode 200.
Yeah. And
it's
you
the
can
episode of Desire.
You can find us on Sean Geek Podcast on Instagram, Sean Geek Podcast on Twitter. Sorry, Sean Geek on Twitter and Sean Geek Podcast on Facebook. What's your handles, Todd?
Me? There's FastFretFingers. There's Fingers McGinns. I don't know. There's a couple different ones.
We got to universalize all your stuff, I think.
Yeah. I've switched names a couple times, but I'll come up with a standard. FastFretFingers is pretty much what it's been.
Yeah.
I had Fingers McGinns, which was prior to that, but
yeah. Okay. All right. Well, send me those files, and we'll see you guys on the flip side.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right.
All righty.
See you.
See ya. Bye.